The gunshot echoed through the penthouse as billionaire Marcus Reed collapsed to his knees, blood seeping through his fingers as he clutched his shoulder. The young homeless woman standing before him, the same one he'd seen teaching his daughter calculus on a park bench yesterday, held a trembling gun. "You don't remember me, do you?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "You destroyed my family, and now I'm going to take everything from you too." "Daddy!" 8-year-old Sophie screamed from the doorway, her math workbook dropping to the marble floor. The homeless woman, Eliza, spun around, horror crossing her beautiful face as she realized a child was witnessing this confrontation. In that moment of distraction, Marcus lunged forward despite his injury, knocking the weapon from her hand. Blood loss made his vision swim dangerously as he fought to stay conscious. "Sophie, run," he gasped, but his daughter stood frozen, tears streaming down her pale cheeks. The most powerful man in the city was about to lose everything, his life, his daughter's innocence, and most shockingly, perhaps his soul when the truth finally emerged. "Your father foreclosed on my family's home when I was your age," Eliza told Sophie, stepping back, her hands raised. "My father killed himself the next day. I was put in foster care, and now..." She gestured to her tattered clothes. "I have nothing but my mind. And seeing you struggling with the same math problems I mastered years ago, I couldn't help myself." Marcus's security team burst through the door, restraining Eliza as Sophie ran to her father's side. But something in Marcus's world had already shifted irrevocably. The woman who had tried to kill him was the same brilliant mind who'd spent hours helping his daughter understand complex mathematics that his expensive tutors couldn't explain. And the hatred in her eyes, it wasn't madness. It was justified. If you're shocked by this confrontation, give this video a like, because this story is about to reveal how one moment of compassion can change multiple lives forever. As paramedics treated Marcus's wound, his mind raced through memories of thousands of foreclosures his bank had executed over the decades. How many other Elizas had he created? The woman had been taken into custody, but Marcus couldn't stop thinking about her. Against his lawyer's vehement advice, he declined to press charges and instead visited her in the holding cell the following day. "Why did you come here?" Eliza asked, her long silky hair now pulled back, revealing the sharp intelligence in her eyes. "To gloat? To remind me that even my revenge failed?" "I came to offer you a job," Marcus replied simply. "A job? I tried to kill you." "Yes, and you also taught my daughter more mathematics in 2 hours than she's learned all year." He leaned forward. "I want you to be her tutor. Live in our guest house. Full salary, benefits." Eliza laughed bitterly. "So I go from homeless to living in a billionaire's pocket?" "No thanks." "Consider it reparations," Marcus said quietly. "For your family." The tension between them was electric, neither willing to back down. This wasn't just about a job offer, it was about power, redemption, and something neither of them could yet name. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more stories about unexpected connections and second chances like this one. Over the following weeks, an uneasy arrangement began. Eliza, released from police custody through Marcus's influence, moved into the guest house on his estate. Sophie was thrilled, unaware of the violent first encounter, believing only that her father had hired the kind woman from the park who made numbers make sense. But Eliza remained cold toward Marcus, accepting his offer only because she had nowhere else to go and because she genuinely cared about Sophie's education. Each evening, after tutoring sessions, she would retreat to the guest house, refusing invitations to dine with the family. "Why do you hate my daddy so much?" Sophie asked innocently one afternoon as they worked through algebra problems. "He's always nice to everybody." Eliza set down her pencil, studying the child's face. "Sometimes people can be nice to some people and still hurt others without realizing it," she explained carefully. "Is that what my daddy did to you?" "Yes," Eliza admitted. "But people can change, Sophie. Maybe your dad is changing too." What Sophie didn't know was that Marcus had been investigating his company's past foreclosures, discovering horrifying patterns of predatory lending his executives had implemented without his knowledge. The revelation left him sickened. How many lives had been destroyed while he focused only on profit margins? Meanwhile, as days turned to weeks, Eliza found herself battling unexpected feelings. Marcus wasn't the heartless monster she'd imagined. She saw him with Sophie, patient, loving, attentive despite his demanding schedule. She witnessed his growing distress as he uncovered the extent of his company's harmful practices. "You seem troubled," she commented one evening, finding him alone on the terrace, staring at financial documents. "I've been blind," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. The moonlight accentuated his strong profile as he turned to her. "I let others handle the unpleasant aspects of business while I enjoyed the profits." "Ignorance is still complicity," she countered, but with less venom than before. "Yes." His directness surprised her. "Which is why I'm dismantling those divisions of the company and creating a foundation to address housing insecurity." He handed her a folder. "I'd like you to run it." Eliza stared at him in disbelief. "Me? The woman who shot you?" A smile played at the corner of his mouth. "Who better to ensure I don't backslide into complacency?" Their eyes met, and for the first time, something other than hatred passed between them. Hit that like button if you're enjoying this story of redemption and unexpected connection. Just as a tentative trust was forming between Eliza and Marcus, a new threat emerged. Marcus's ambitious vice president, Victor Chambers, had discovered Eliza's violent introduction to the Reed family. When Marcus announced plans to restructure the company's foreclosure division, costing the firm millions, Victor saw his opportunity. "The board needs to see this," Victor threatened, showing Marcus security footage of the shooting he'd kept hidden. "You've allowed a violent criminal into your home, near your child, and now you're giving her control of company resources? They'll declare you mentally unfit." Marcus maintained his composure. "Release that footage and I'll reveal the memos proving you personally designed the predatory lending practices that targeted vulnerable neighborhoods, including Eliza's family." What neither man realized was that Sophie had overheard everything from the hallway. When the child ran crying to Eliza, the truth came crashing down around them all. "You shot my daddy?" Sophie asked, her small voice breaking as she backed away from the woman she'd grown to trust. Eliza reached for her, but Sophie fled. "Sophie, wait." This confrontation sets everything on a collision course that no one could have predicted. Comment below if you think Eliza can ever rebuild Sophie's trust. The revelation shattered the fragile peace they'd built. Sophie refused to see Eliza, locking herself in her room. Marcus, caught between his growing feelings for Eliza and his daughter's distress, was torn apart. "I should leave," Eliza said, packing her few belongings in the guest house. "Running away is what I would have done 6 months ago," Marcus replied, leaning against the doorframe. "Is that really who you are?" His challenge hung in the air between them. The attraction they'd both been fighting crackled with new intensity. "I'm not running from you," she clarified, meeting his gaze directly. "I'm trying to do what's best for Sophie." "And what about what's best for you?" he asked softly. "For us?" The word us hung between them, full of possibility and danger. "There is no us," she insisted, though her body betrayed her as she stepped closer to him. "There's too much history." "History can be rewritten," he murmured, his hand gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. Their first kiss was inevitable, a collision of two worlds that should never have touched but now couldn't be separated. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing heavily. "This doesn't solve anything," she whispered. "No," he agreed. "But it's a start." Meanwhile, Victor Chambers hadn't given up. He approached Sophie directly, manipulating the confused child with half-truths about Eliza's past. "Your father is under her spell," he told the girl. "She's after his money, and she already tried to kill him once." The next morning, Sophie was missing from her bedroom. In her place, a childish note saying she'd gone to stay with Uncle Victor, until Daddy was safe again. If this shocking twist has you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and subscribe to see how this family fights to reunite. Marcus was frantic. "He's using my daughter to force my resignation," he explained as they raced to Victor's lakeside mansion. "Once he has control of the company, he'll reverse all the reforms we've implemented." "This is my fault," Eliza said, her face pale with worry. "If I'd never approached Sophie in the park, then I would still be blind to the damage my company was causing," Marcus finished. "And Victor would still be destroying lives unchecked." When they arrived at Victor's estate, security blocked their entrance. "Mr. Chambers is not receiving visitors," the guard stated flatly. "He has my daughter," Marcus shouted, but the gates remained closed. Eliza squeezed his arm. "There's another way in. I used to clean houses in this neighborhood before." She swallowed hard. Before everything fell apart. They circled to the service entrance where Eliza charmed their way past a delivery guard. Inside, they overheard Victor on the phone with board members, plotting Marcus's ousting while Sophie played video games in the next room, unaware she was being used as a pawn. "Sophie," Marcus called softly from the doorway. The little girl looked up, her expression conflicted. "Daddy? Uncle Victor said you're sick because of her." She pointed accusingly at Eliza. Eliza knelt to Sophie's level. "I did something terrible once, Sophie. I was angry and hurt, and I blamed your father for something that wasn't entirely his fault. But I've learned something important since then: holding on to hatred only hurts yourself." "But you shot him," Sophie whispered. "Yes," Eliza admitted. "And it was the biggest mistake of my life. Not just because it was wrong, but because I never gave him the chance to be the man he could become, the man he is now." Marcus joined them, kneeling beside Eliza. "People make mistakes, Sophie. Sometimes terrible ones. But what matters is what we do afterward, how we try to make things right." Sophie looked between them, her young mind grappling with complex moral questions. "Can people really change that much?" "They can," Marcus assured her. "I have." Their tender moment was interrupted by Victor bursting into the room, security guards flanking him. "How touching," he sneered. "The billionaire, the vagrant, and the brat, one big happy family." "It's over, Victor," Marcus stated calmly, rising to his feet. "I've already sent the board evidence of your unauthorized operations." Victor's face contorted with rage. "You're bluffing. You wouldn't risk the company's stock price with a scandal." "I would risk everything," Marcus replied, "for what's right. If you believe in second chances and redemption, hit that subscribe button now to support stories that show the power of forgiveness." The confrontation at Victor's mansion marked a turning point. While Victor faced criminal charges for corporate fraud and child endangerment, Marcus, Eliza, and Sophie began the delicate process of becoming a family. It wasn't easy. Sophie still had nightmares about the shooting she'd witnessed. Eliza battled guilt daily, questioning whether she deserved this second chance. And Marcus had to rebuild his company from the ground up, focused now on ethical lending and community investment. 6 months later, the Reed Family Foundation opened its first transitional housing center in the very neighborhood where Eliza had grown up homeless. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Sophie proudly held the oversized scissors between her father and Eliza. "My mom always said education was my way out of poverty," Eliza told the gathered crowd. She was right, but education without opportunity is just knowledge without power. This center will provide both. As cameras flashed, Marcus squeezed Eliza's hand. "Are you ready for this?" he asked quietly. She knew he wasn't just referring to the ceremony but to everything that would follow: their public relationship, the scrutiny, the responsibility of using wealth to create meaningful change. "I've been ready since that day in the park," she admitted. "I just didn't know it yet." Later that evening, as Sophie slept peacefully for the first time in months, Marcus led Eliza to the terrace where they'd shared their first honest conversation. "I have something to ask you," he said nervously, a rare emotion for a man who commanded boardrooms with ease. When he dropped to one knee, Eliza gasped. The ring he offered wasn't ostentatious but elegant, a simple diamond surrounded by tiny sapphires that matched her eyes. "We started with the worst possible introduction," he said with a self-deprecating smile. "But I've fallen in love with your brilliance, your compassion, and your commitment to justice. Will you marry me, Eliza?" Not the billionaire and the former homeless woman, but just two people who found each other against all odds. Tears streaming down her face, Eliza nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "All of it, yes." Their kiss sealed a promise that transcended their past, a future built not on forgetting but on forgiving, not on ignoring injustice but on actively fighting it, together. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Remember that second chances and redemption are possible, and sometimes the people we least expect become our greatest teachers. Leave a comment sharing a time when forgiveness changed your life. We'd love to hear your story.